What's up everyone, Anthony here with a discussion video. 6.3 of Final Fantasy XIV patch has just released and I had done a live stream with my initial thoughts on the new Paladin changes. Now as a tank main, or more importantly a Paladin main, I had a lot to say about the changes here. Now of course this is just for 6.3, anything could change in the future, but I want to have it basically have some idea of what I felt at the moment. So I will let myself in the past, which is the live stream that I have streamed, explain every single piece of detail of exactly how I felt with the Paladin changes. Now if any of you are also a tank or Paladin main just like myself, please let me know exactly how do you feel about the changes with Paladin right now. Considering that it was mostly just me in chat that was pretty much discussing all these, I would love to hear more people out there who are in the same boat. With that being said, let's go ahead and transfer it all over.
But I think the number one thing that I'm mostly curious about right now more than anything else is how's my Paladin doing? Because I did read the patch notes. I read the patch notes and all that, but I'm just I'm still a little bit worried about how it plays. Let me see. Yeah, okay, Bulwark, that was the new thing. Block incoming attacks. So I gotta find a new place for this. Well, what is the... Okay, recast, 90 seconds. Blocks incoming attacks duration. I mean, isn't that the same of what reduces damage taken by 15%? Oh, yeah, that's right. This isn't blocking incoming attacks no more. See, I feel like they should have just kept these two together. In my honest opinion, I feel like they should have kept them together. But I don't know. I may have to play it a little bit myself, a little more. I feel like cover is probably the most useless because I used cover one time recently. And that was only with me being able to do a lot of the savage raiding. Like I was doing some savage raiding over the weekend just so I can, you know, do some harder content. And I only needed to use cover one time when like one of our healers were getting ready to die, and I was like, all right, well let me throw a cover on there because I know that what is it called, intervention doesn't do too much in terms of keeping them alive. I mean, of course it's gonna put damage on me, but at the same time it still feels not as useful, in my opinion, as intervention is. Plus, you have to be near the party member in order for you to be able to protect them. So, like, yeah, cover is not as big as I think it is. But as of right now, I think I'm gonna stick with this. I do want to check out what some of the new rotations is for this job. So as somebody who started out as a paladin and pretty much is a paladin main, even though like I play 4 other classes or jobs, I play one of each role, or a little, yeah, pretty much one of each role. But paladin is my main tank, and seeing that they made some changes here, I wanted to see what it was like whenever I started doing the, of course, the trial and the dungeon. And I want to see more of it whenever I do the alliance raid. But from what I've experienced so far, I still feel very, very mixed about the changes. In my opinion, I feel like some of it was a little unnecessary, such as like the defensive moves. I feel like there's a lot of nerfs that happen, and I'm still needing to get used to the burst. Like, of course, I found like a whole new rotation. I found a completely new whole rotation, but the rotation has still got me a little thrown off. It feels like it's a shorter burst window. That's what it is. It's like a shorter burst window that they've given us. As of right now, I'm just trying to figure out a way of how to use a lot of my mitigation without going into my old habits. And I don't like that they nerfed our healing abilities. They nerfed our our DPS damage, and they nerfed our defense as well. I don't feel so much like a wall no more. Like, I don't feel like I'm a wall like I used to feel. I feel like I could like in the past, I feel like I can take a lot of damage and not have to worry about too much of it. This time, I feel like I'm taking a lot of damage, and I'm really needed to work around my mitigations a little bit more. And even with the mitigations on and all that, it feels like there's still so much that needs to be improved upon. Last thing is that they took away our dots. Our dots are all gone, and I don't like that our dots are gone. Really, it's making it seem like I can't do any damage over time no more. Besides one of them. I have one damage over time, and that is Circle of Scorn. That is the only damage over time that I have. And I feel a little mixed on it because I feel like we were doing some pretty good damage with those two dots at first. And now I feel Goring Blade has very low to no uses now. At first, I feel like I was using Goring Blade for like a good amount of abilities and stuff that I need to do. Now Goring Blade just seems a little useless. It doesn't do much for me at all. Matter of fact, let me read the description for it. So yeah, all it is like, it's a high 700 potency. That's all it is. And it could be useful sometimes for more damage, but considering that they already nerfed so much of our DPS, it's kind of just like, why? So, in my opinion, I like the short burst window, but let's have some more OGCDs. Let's have some of these abilities become OGCDs so that we don't have them all in the same cycle right there, making it seem like, well, why would I choose this one when I can choose the other one? For an example, why would I choose using Holy Spirit or Holy Circle when I can just use Confrontier and its combos? Get what I'm saying there? And same goes for whenever I'm using Goring Blade. I can use Goring Blade. Why use Goring Blade when I can just use my regular combo and then go right into my burst? Like, the other tanks, I feel like they had a little bit more balance when it came to them. Like, I still feel like Gunbreaker and freaking Warrior. Gunbreaker is probably close. No, I'll take that back. I feel like Dark Knight is probably the closest to being like a very well-balanced tank. Gunbreaker is close, but Gunbreaker needs a little bit more defensive abilities. It feels like Gunbreaker is like paper whenever it gets water on it. And when water is on paper, you know how it is. It easily breaks apart. But, just like paper, paper can hurt. And Gunbreaker can hurt. It has the DPS. So, this goes back to my next thing. Warrior. Warrior is so freaking overpowered. I feel like whoever is balanced Warrior is having some type of favoritism. I stated this earlier, but I will state it again right here, after doing all of this stuff. But it feels like whoever balanced Warrior has a lot of favoritism towards them, because they're giving them more healing abilities. Heck, like their party mitigation now casts regen. And I'm just like, yo, Warrior is supposed to be that attack tank, in a sense. It's supposed to be that tank that's beefy, but hits hard. While Paladin is supposed to be like the protector tank. The one that is helping out the party and protecting the party as best as it can. And they're taking so much more away from us on that one. Now granted, I will say, Divine Veil has a far more better use right now. Divine Veil has a better use right now because of the fact that it allows us to have a party-wide defensive ability buff that we can throw on everybody. I love that. And that's good that they were able to change that. But I feel like Warrior doesn't need any more region abilities. Give us, Paladins, at least some of those region abilities. At least some of those. Because Warrior's already fine right now. Also, I gotta go back to Sheltron. Holy Sheltron. Yeah, having that as like a regular defensive buff that only lasts a few seconds, it rubs me a little bit wrong. It rubs me the wrong way a little bit. I'm not too big on it because I like the whole idea that Sheltron and Holy Sheltron used to be what Bulwark was. Bulwark is pretty much like it protects you from ongoing or upcoming attacks. That's what Sheltron and Holy Sheltron was for. Now they separated the two, which is like, I thought you were wanting to simplify these jobs. And that's what they were wanting to go for Paladin. They were wanting to simplify it, making it easier for people to jump into and play it with a much more shorter burst window. And they did do right on the shorter burst window. But the defensive abilities is kind of like, come on now. Lastly, this is an idea that came to my mind earlier. I didn't mention it during the stream, of course, because like I was so focused on trying to figure out rotations and trying to figure out how I feel about Paladin and all that. But the last thing I have to say is I feel like tanks should go in the direction that healers are going. So for a good example, healers right now are separated by two different categories. That is a pure healer and a barrier healer. And I like that they're doing something like that. It makes party forming so much more better. It makes strategizing the fights a little bit more interesting. And it gives the healers more ability to be able to do stuff. Like having someone that is purely healing is great, while having somebody that does barriers or putting up shields and all that is awesome as well. And I feel like they need to have tanks in that sense too. Because in my general idea of what I thought of these tanks is that Paladin and Warrior were like your wall tanks. They were your wall tanks. The ones that takes a lot of damage, that can stand it, and do what it is I need to do. Then Dark Knight and Gunbreaker could be your damage tanks. The ones that are dishing out good damage and putting out all the DPS and stuff. I feel like that is like a good approach to take tanks now. Now, this is just me, because I've been tanking this whole entire game, and this is just my in process ever since we are making some changes and trying to improve it, everything. And this is the first time I'm ever talking about a job in specific in this kind of way. Because I love Paladin, but the direction of what Paladin is right now it's interesting. There are some things that I do like about it, and there are some things that I feel like still need some work, and that should have never happened. That is my general sense about Paladin right now, is that I'm a little mixed on how it is now, and I'm curious to see what it is that they're gonna do for 7.0. For 7.0, I would think that they will improve a little bit more on what they are doing with Paladin. And of course, like you said, they're doing Astral Illusion as well and Dragoon. So for you, as an Astral Illusion main, yeah, they're going to have some improvements, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. I'm really curious to see what they're going to end up doing with Dragoon as well. Matter of fact, all the jobs when 7.0 comes, I'm curious to see what they do with all the jobs in 7.0. A friend raids as a warrior on Savage with DPS tank, but says it's the worst one. Yeah, so Warrior is the worst when it comes to DPS. It is the worst. But as far as like keeping it alive, it is the best. Because because a warrior can heal themselves all the time. A warrior can always heal themselves, so that's the reason why they can stay alive. But as far as like DPS, they're not the best. Yeah, warrior gets like 20 healing cooldowns, and it's ridiculous. Yeah, they do. They got so many healing cooldowns. Because you don't have to do too much work because the warrior would keep themselves alive. What everyone is saying about raiding, like whenever I go to raids and I see people raiding, I always see Dark Knight and Gunbreaker. I always see those two. Because they are the ones who are dishing out DPS. But the only thing is, those two jobs, when it comes to damage, they get hit hard. And when they get hit hard, I mean they get hit hard. So Warrior and Paladin were always the walls. And I feel like that is what they're trying to go with these jobs. I feel like that's what they're trying to do. Is make Paladin and Warrior probably like the wall tanks. But if they're wanting to make these like wall tanks, I feel like Paladin still needs a little bit more tweaking on that one. A little bit more tweaking. Especially considering that they lowered the potency for both the healing and our damage. Yeah, like you got a good point right there, Tashi. Is it like they do change a lot of classes for the general population because they wanted to make these jobs more accessible for everybody to be able to play. And I can understand that. But I think the reason why I enjoyed playing Paladin is because of the fact that it is not something that many people can get used to playing. It's not. And I've been playing it since the beginning of me playing this game, and I gotten used to its rotation to the point where I enjoyed its difficulty. I enjoyed what it was going on with it. Yes, I do agree that it needed some improvements here and there, but this one, it seems a bit too simplified in my opinion. Yeah, you feel alienated. That's exactly... Well, I wouldn't say I feel alienated right now, but I would definitely say it is throwing me off a little bit. It is throwing me off just a little bit. Of course I'll get used to it. I'll get used to all the job changes. And I'm sure this is exactly how Summoners felt. Summoners felt the exact same way whenever they heard that it was getting a change, and they saw the trailer for 6.0 when it did get changed. And this is exactly how I'm feeling right now, but I'm getting used to it, of course. Yeah. That's the thing. Why isn't Shield Bash and Goring Blade off GCDs? I feel like they should be off GCDs. Like that just goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I feel like Paladin needs more off GCDs, OGCDs. It needs more of those. Exactly. So that's the reason why I'm in the sense of like, why should I use Goring Blade if it's on the global cooldown? Yes, it does pretty good damage now, but it doesn't do dots no more, and it's interrupting my regular orientation, my regular rotation. Yeah, that's exactly where I am with it right now. It's like, when do I press Goring Blade? When do I press it? I still feel like Holy Circle and Holy Spirit should be a part of its own GCD as well. It should not be a part of the Comfort Tier combo. Like, I don't know. I do like some of the changes. I will say I do like some of them. Like, for an example, I can finish off a combo with Holy Spirit as the finishing combo, or Holy Circle as the finishing combo. I do like those. That's the same sense of what some of these other tanks do have as a finishing combo. I'm fine with that change. Bulwark should stay inside of Sheltron and Holy Sheltron. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I feel like Bulwark should have stayed with Holy Sheltron. Okay, yeah, Bulwark lasts about 10 seconds, and Sheltron lasts about 8 seconds. So, Sheltron is a defensive ability for like 15% of damage. Now, that lasts 8 seconds. I guess that's fine. Bulwark lasts in 10 seconds. I guess that's fine for oncoming attacks, but I still feel like that should have been a part of Holy Sheltron and Sheltron. See, like, even the healers are noticing... Yeah, even the healers are starting to notice the big damage that tanks are taking in this. Like, mostly Paladins that are taking. Yeah, so Bulwark doesn't really it doesn't really say how much damage it's mitigating there. It just says block incoming attacks, and that's it. It doesn't even say for what percentage at all. So, in all reality, you just want to pop Bulwark with some other ability. In this instance, it will be Bulwark with Sheltron, which just goes back to what I was saying earlier. Why would we not just have Bulwark inside of Sheltron? I don't know. I guess I gotta talk to more Paladin mains about this, because to me, I just feel like it was not necessary. I will take the new burst window. I will take that. But the defensive abilities may need a little bit more tweaking. And please, give us back our dots. The dots were good. It helped out with damage. We need more damage. I feel like we weren't doing enough damage during that entire time I was doing the dungeon. Like, if you look back on my run of the dungeon, it felt like it was taking longer than previously. Like previously, yeah, I can run through some dungeons, it'll take some time with the trust system, but this time it felt longer for some reason. And I mean a lot longer. Alright, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and close it from here. Overall, my general thoughts is, I'm very curious as to where they're gonna go with Paladin. Yes, it has its ups. Yes, it has its downs. But I think 7.0 will really hammer down exactly what we might see for Paladin going forward. And I think I'm gonna wait till 7.0 on that end. As of right now, I'm gonna tolerate some of the differences that Paladin has, but I'm very ambivalent on it. And that's just my general thoughts on there. But I would love to hear from other people who are Paladin mains, just like me. I would love to hear from other people on that end. And I'm still very salty about Warrior. Warrior, why are you getting all the love? I do like playing as Warrior sometimes, but come on now. Gunbreaker still does the most damage though.